Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts. JL.
When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for.
Eugene.
And we're just casually just like, yeah, so this is probably the best way to go, light someone on fire with gasoline.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not an Amityville, or wherever, it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one, we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared.
Like a little bitch.
Well, welcome, horror fans. It is Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. That means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast. The only podcast where the menu is a delectable 5 courses of terror. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember, we do this live right here on our YouTube channel. Come hang out with us. See all the stuff that our editor doesn't want you to see. This week we are covering select horror films released January 15th through January 21st. Thank you all so much for joining us. I am JL, and with me tonight are Johnny O and Eugene.
Hey, you got the point right. Yay.
What's up, everybody?
Johnny O
And
Eugene.
Eugene has, well, let's see if I can get my fingers to the sun right there. As you can see, he's got the sun in his room. Eugene is so good at what he does, the sun literally follows him wherever he goes.
Exactly. It lights up my life.
You light up our lives.
Don't start singing that fucking song. I swear to God, I'll leave.
You.
God damn it, Dale.
I only need to say like the one word and he knows it.
Aw, you motherfucker. Come back.
All right. How is everyone doing tonight? Man, this month is almost over.
Shut up. We just started.
It's like it's not even halfway there.
It's almost there. We're getting there. The time flies, when you have a really tight schedule that you have to stick to. Johnny got mad at me recently because I posted to our messenger group that I just realized that what was it? I said it was what movie was it?
Was it Dodgeball?
Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Because I was in the mood for a comedy. And I wanted to, and I was like, you know what? I haven't seen Dodgeball in forever. So I watched Dodgeball again. And Vince Vaughn, Ben Stiller, perfectly cast movie. Absolutely, it's just sublime comedy. Everybody's fantastic in it. The legendary Rip Torn. It just, Angela and I were discussing how we couldn't possibly change anything about that movie and make it any better. That was technically done, as far as comedies go, one of the perfect comedies. I mean, for those who really dig, like physical comedy and the poignancy and stuff like that, because Vince Vaughn is just one of Hollywood's most underrated actors, no matter what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I realized that it's been 19 years since Dodgeball came out.
Golly.
It'll be 20 years next year in 2024. That movie would be 20 years old, and I suddenly realized, you know what? I need to tell all the guys about this.
Yeah, I need to remind everybody how fucking old we are.
So what you're saying is that we've been alive for too long.
Whoa. Whoa. I like to believe I haven't been alive long enough.
Long enough.
Someone, you could tell he's been in the industry a long time, because that's that kind of cynicism you get from working on film sets.
Yeah.
It's the cynicism of pieces not going together the way they should go together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Damn it, I'm playing Legos. I need a 2-block, not a 4-block. Shit.
Exactly.
And the producer's like, just make it work.
Just use fucking.
The fuck are you talking about?
You should make it work. It should work, right?
Well, it's good to see everybody. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. I see a bunch of people in the live chat, and I've got something cool that I added. I'm gonna try something. It was a recommendation from one of our listeners, and for the here for the live broadcasting, I'm going to try and see how it works out and see if people dig it, and then I'll just keep doing it. It's something new I've added to the stream. So I think it looks pretty cool. I think it'll work out, but let's find out. Let's see who's here in the live chat tonight before we dive in, because we got a couple things we want to talk about, and something we got to do before we get to our award-winning selections tonight. First and foremost, and if I sound a little congested, it is. My allergies are fucking killing me. And I guess the weather change or something happened, but I got hit yesterday, and it just, leveled me. My nose decided was like, fuck off, you're on your own. And I'm finally starting to clear up, but I had a head cold yesterday. It hit me so fast. Then I took a Benadryl, got some sleep, and I woke up, and then I went outside and was like, okay, need some fresh air or whatever like this, but nonetheless.
Yeah, because fresh air, where the allergens come from, that's what you needed.
I don't know. Maybe it was something in the house. I'm not 100% sure, but
all of a sudden activated out of the blue. No JL.
But anyway, I'm feeling a little bit better, but I sound a little congested is the problem. So, but let's see who we got. We got Travis Brown is here. Good to see you. Travis Brown says, hey, horror freaks. I am fully recovered from being sick. That is good to hear, Travis. Thanks so much for being here, bud. And then Raven Darkstar is here. Good to see you, Raven Darkstar, as well as... They were having a nice little chat. Sarcasm is here. Good to see you, Sarcasm. And Donnie does that. Thanks so much for being here. Casey Cooper as well. Good to see you. And I see Denova28 is here. Says, good evening, hello, fellow horror files. Good to see you, Denova. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Elizabeth Sylvester is in the house. Good to see you, Elizabeth. A bunch of our amazing supporters are here tonight. Nemo813 as well. One of our amazing patrons. By the way, let me get that up. There is, bam, our amazing... Huh?
What?
Ha ha ha. Funny. But there's the list of our amazing patrons who help us to make the show possible. Thank you all so much. Fred Knotts is here. Good to see you, Fred Knotts. And Tony Regime with the obligatory ghost. Appreciate that, Tony Regime. And Brian Powell. Good to see you, Brian Powell. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight. Fred Knotts, I think that was in response to Dodge. Denova28, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
I fucking love Rick Corn in that movie.
He was so Hey, Crotch Stain.
That is one of the few instances where the director's cut is not as funny as the theatrical release.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the director's cut, you've got the line where he gives them, you're about as useful as a cock-flavored lollipop. That's not as funny as poopy-flavored lollipop.
Well, you're about as useful as a poopy-flavored lollipop.
So much funnier because of his delivery. Yeah.
Well, the original ending was they were supposed to lose.
Yeah, so the original ending happens after he gets nailed by Globo Jim and White Goodman. That was it. And then Tess Irons is like, no, I hate it. That's why you have that closing scene where he does the milkshake song as a fatty.
Fatty big funny.
Big funny, yeah.
I loved the. I also would have been like, no, they can't lose. I mean, because even when I watch my wife's reaction while watching this movie, she is just disgusted by Ben Stiller. No matter what, he is just so gross as a human being. Every time he's like, she's just like, oh, get the fuck away from me.
No one makes me bleed my own blood.
Nobody.
You are one crazy little man. And I see Fred Knopf's like, shut the fuck up, JL. We aren't that old. Apparently we are. And Aaron Reese said, God damn it, I told you not to bring that shit up again.
They do a great job playing off each other. I mean, they're spouses.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And I see Ivy Gentry. Good to see you, Ivy Gentry. Good to see you thank you so much for being here. Good to see you. And Aaron Reese is here as well. Facty as well. Javier Hara says, yeah, gosh, it's a lot of time. It is a lot of time.
Aaron Reese is absolutely correct. Says I told my wife about Cocaine Bear a couple of days ago, and she was angry with me for not telling her about it sooner. Yeah, I agree. I'd be pretty pissed off. The first thing I did when I found out about Cocaine Bear, I was like, hey, Erica, this movie is so stupid, but it's going to be great. It's called Cocaine Bear. And it's
going to be amazing.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
It's going to be amazing. Let's see. Oh, wait, hang on a sec. Denova...
Yeah, Denova 28 says his name's not on the banner.
Oh shit! Somebody's in trouble. There it is. Fixed it.
What? I could fix it like that.
Nice.
I am on it.
What happens when it's more than 250 characters?
I don't know, but that's a bridge. That is a. I'll have two banners running. I have no fucking clue.
Okay, so we got to talk about something. I know it's on the list. It's on the list. Do you want? We can wait. We got to do the bloodbath coin toss, don't we?
We do have to do the bloodbath coin tossed.
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 Like a salad.
Tossed? Ooh. Garden.
Yes. So the first thing, yeah. So to get on with tonight's stuff. So first and foremost, we do have, and sarcasm, you're in there as well. I fixed it.
Fixed it.
So anyway Rodin LS up 2-4. The fact that you're here, Rodin LS and Gabba Gabba to you, sir. Thanks so much for being out. It is all good. If you're able to support, you can, but the biggest support you can give is obviously hanging out with us tonight and being here in the live chat. We appreciate that big time.
Share with us in the live chat.
Yes.
Hell fucking yeah. So,
that's the best. That's the best idea ever.
A Cocaine Bear Winnie the Pooh crossover or bloodbath debate.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I just saw that, and that is the greatest idea.
It's got to be Cocaine Bear versus Meth Gators. Because I think Meth Gators is a movie.
Is it a movie?
I think so. If it's not, it should be. It needs to be coke. That's some asylum shit. You think Cocaine Bear would be some asylum shit, but Meth Gators or LSD sharks?
Oh,
all right.
Hey,
so
yes, we can eventually. Wrote no last name.
One day we win. One day we can. So here we go. We got to do the bloodbath coin toss tonight. So the next bloodbath, as I told everybody who gets the Patreon newsletter, the next bloodbath will be between Eugene and Angela, because Angela defeated Aaron Reese in the last bloodbath debate, and so she's taking on Eugene, and Eugene and Angela will be debating. And I decided to go kind of a classic thing because The Walking Dead recently ended.
Sort of.
And I want to know who would win in a fight, the governor or Negan.
I think we all win that one.
So, the winner of this coin is because Angela's not here. Angela abdicated the coin toss to Eugene. Angela normally would call it in the air because she's the one who won the last debate. But she said Eugene can call it, and then whoever wins will get to pick. So she's good with either one. So, here we go. A rumble in the 100-acre wood. Eugene, call it in the air, and you will get to choose either the governor or Negan for the next debate.
All right. Tails.
Tails. It is Tails.
Never fails, baby.
Tails never fails.
Ooh, let me see. I'm actually looking over at the live chat right now to see if anybody has any quick picks.
There's a lot of love for Negan in there, but I
see
think
some Negan love.
I think they're underestimating just the pure terror that the governor was.
And see, they left a lot of stuff for the governor out in the actual TV series.
Yeah, so you got to think: that's a good clarification there. Are we strictly going by the television show, or are we adding in the comic book series?
We are going by both because the character in and of itself, because the characters as portrayed in the shows take bits and pieces from the comics, but not everything. But that's because of adaptation. You can't throw in every single piece. So yeah. I will allow the combatants to draw from the comics, from the resources of the comics, and the resources of the show.
That's it's so tough.
Let's see. I'm looking, and I think I'm gonna have to go with the audience and say Negan.
You gonna go with Negan?
Okay, it's a tough one, man. It's tough. Like I said, it's tough.
All right, Eugene is taking Negan, and Angela has the governor.
Give me 2 seconds, and I'll be right back. I want to talk about this Renfield shit.
I know you want to talk about this big time. Well, I'll tell you what. So you go do your thing, and I'll kind of set it up, and we'll watch the trailer real quick. All right, so So Eugene's going to be taking Negan, and Angela will take the governor. We'll see who's going to come down, who's going to take the win. And of course, our patrons who are eligible, you can become and be special guest judges. Look for the link for that when we send it out later in the month when we do our bloodbath debate, and you can come and help decide who makes the better argument, Eugene or Angela. If Angela will continue her winning streak, or if Eugene will take the title. So, apparently, this thing kind of came along that Johnny brought up, that Johnny found, regarding the upcoming film Renfield. And he's got the details. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is, obviously, this thing came out, so we're going to take a look at the trailer for Renfield. Have you seen this yet, Eugene?
Yeah, I've already seen the trailer.
Oh, okay.
Sorry to interrupt. Are you okay? I need to get out of a toxic relationship.
Why don't you start by telling us what brought you here?
This looks so well shot.
My boss.
It really does.
He's different.
You can't get him out of your head.
No.
I'm coming, Master! Oh, you feel like he could destroy you with the snap of his fingers.
Wouldn't even need to snap. Okay.
That sounds familiar.
So relatable.
Renfield, bring in innocent victims. I want a handful of nuns, a busload of cheerleaders.
And I just want a normal life again. But this modern world is a dangerous place.
No, 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 no.
Thank you. You saved my life. Did I watch you cut a guy's arms off with a decorative serving platter?
Yes. It's in the wrist. Let me explain. My boss gave me this power. In return, I tend to his needs, including care, feeding.
You bring in people to
Moves he perfected when he was Beast.
Exactly. Like that.
You're the guy that gets the villain's Postmates.
But if you were to stop focusing on his needs, what would happen?
He won't grow to full power.
Exactly. He won't grow to full power. What? That's so weird. Why would you phrase it like that? But yes. Hi. Are you here for the meeting? Well, come on. No!
Invited him in.
The Dark One. Others, the Lord of Death. To most, I am Dracula.
Okay, obviously we're dealing with a little bit more than just narcissism here.
Now, let's eat.
All right, so that's the trailer for Renfield. Obviously, I am in love with the Nicolas Cage Renaissance. I know that he has had a string of really terrible movies, but he has managed to ride that string of terrible films to the occasional solid one. So we've got big hits like Color Out of Space. We've got Pig. We've got the unbearable weight of awesome talent, and then of course Renfield. And given that Nicolas Cage is a connoisseur of German expressionism, it's essentially the foundation of his acting method, that this automatically feels like he's finally arrived at the role he was meant to play, as the kind of form that was established in F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu, in the portrayal of Count Olaf. And so now he's literally become the thing that he was meant to be. He's meant to play this role in the German expressionist style. The Nicolas Cage snake has finally found its tail, and it's all come full circle, and everything will be right with the world. Maybe, I don't know. The movie looks amazing. So
the movie looks fun. I'm definitely gonna go see it. And the thing with Nicolas Cage is it's about getting in the right roles. He had a lot of issues with the IRS, so he ended up having to take bad movies. And it's hard when you're going from A-lister movies like The Rock and Con Air, and then all of a sudden you have to start doing B movies because of tax purposes, and people think your career is going down like the toilet.
Right.
And it's just because he needs the money. I mean, literally, he just needed the money to pay off the massive amount of debt that he had.
Nick Cage.
Yeah.
Nick Cage.
Yeah. And
Motherfucker had 2 yachts per ocean. Fucking good lord. He had 33 castles. Why? Sorry.
This is why you watch your money.
Because he wanted one more than 32. I don't know.
Just insane. I didn't know there were 33 castles left, let alone 33 extra castles for fucking Nick Cage to buy.
Let me see here before we dive into this thing. So I think Elizabeth Sylvester's right. Good. I'm glad to hear. Yeah. If you need to ask me something, you should just go ahead and DM me. Elizabeth says. Okay, so yeah, Elizabeth says DM me about that because that's from Travis. So yeah, thank you. All right, so so Facty actually asked, wait, what Cage movie was bad? And then Aaron Reese replied back, The Wicker Man was an absolute breath of fresh ass.
Everything that happened after. Wait, when did he start his career?
He's had some good ones. He's had some.
In spite of him.
Things kind of took a turn after leaving Las Vegas. So they took a little bit of a turn because, big Oscar-winning performance, and things kind of spiraled, and, some projects that he wanted didn't materialize. We understand this, it'd be sometimes, and obviously having to, get through debt and everything and put out a string. But what's great is that he's been able to ride the string of films of just where the cover of every film is basically the lead actor holding a gun.
Yeah.
In order to that's how they get marketed. But he's been able to get through a string of these to get to some really, really solid performance, to some really, really solid films. Color Out of Space was amazing. Mandy was amazing. That's where I feel Mandy is where I feel that the Renaissance really began. So it was Panos Cosmatos brought him in for Mandy. I love that movie. Everything about it because it's just deep. It's deep, it's profound, and Nicolas Cage gets to play in a realm that he's meant to play in. And then, of course, then there was Color Out of Space, which I thought he was fantastic in, which allowed him to play the spectrum of his, the entire range, his entire range. And then, of course, Pig. And if you have not seen Pig, I strongly recommend it. It is a magnificent film and a tour de force of Nicolas Cage's capability of playing a very subdued character. There is no German expressionism. There is no big eyes. There's no blah, up in your face. There's just Nick Cage in a brooding, melancholy film about a man at his last rope, and trying to hold on to the one thing that he still has faith in. And so he was brilliant in that.
Extend this to Nicolas Cage. He did a film with Téa Leoni and Don Cheadle called Family Man.
Oh yeah.
He actually had an arc that looked good, that he performed very well. Started out as that dickhead really started out as this down-to-earth family man who circumstances became this super dickhead fucking Wall Street kind of asshole kind of person, and then flipped the script on him, so the arcs that he goes through, he actually did very well in Family Man. He's had some good performances. I'm just not a huge Nick Cage fan. And then Denova 28 brings up one of my favorite jokes of all time, is that Johnny Blaze, everybody thought that Johnny Blaze's curse was turning into Ghost Rider. Well, they're wrong. His curse was turning into Nick Cage.
Ghost Rider was not great. Spirit of Vengeance was a little bit better, but that's only because Neville Dean Taylor were handling that, and they knew how to utilize Ghost Rider. The problem is that Spirit of Vengeance was very much like Superman Returns.
Yeah.
Cut out all the stuff with Brandon Routh just being just like miming Christopher Reeves, and you have basically, if you just look at Superman Returns and watch all the action sequences, it's essentially Superman film. That's great. But you got to cut out all of the exposition. Just cut out all the other stuff. Just watch the action scenes. You're good to go. Same with Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. Watch all the Ghost Rider sequences. Cut out everything else. Just watch Ghost Rider kicking ass, and it's an amazing fucking film. The problem is that film is only 15 minutes long. So
yeah, right. I still want a Ghost Rider versus Punisher, with John Bernthal being the Punisher and
Knights of Vengeance. Nice.
Damn near anybody else being Everybody else being fucking Ghost Rider.
So the reason we're bringing this up, because I wasn't originally going to show the Renfield trailer, but Johnny found something very, very interesting. And the reason I agree, I wanted to, so he'll talk about this, and it kind of echoes a story that I've told in the past. And it was somebody who posted on social media.
This is a little bit more nefarious, though.
That's
right?
true.
And I can see you like, because I do remember we're talking about, what the fuck was that alligator movie?
Crawl.
Crawl, yeah. So Crawl, and then your film, like, you didn't make it, right? You didn't actually shoot this
I didn't
movie,
actually shoot
right?
it, no.
So we've got, I forget the guy's name, and I meant to have the article brought up, or at least this post brought up about it, and
that's what I thought you were bringing up.
There it is. Okay. So we have a filmmaker whom alleges some pretty serious things against Warner Brothers, because here we are looking at Renfield, and we have I don't know if I should use his name or not. We have a filmmaker who posts on Facebook talking about how he in 2014 he wrote a movie called Renfield, and he levied some pretty serious allegations that this new Renfield, the 2023 version, is pretty much a ripoff of his movie. Like he says, the characterizations are the same, the plot is the same, the even the look of Dracula or whatever is the same. Like they're like nuanced things too, things that are different, that aren't like everybody says, well, of course Dracula is going to look like X, Y, and Z because it's Dracula. Like he's no. If you go back and look at my film, you look that Dracula has a top hat, which is in nowhere. You don't see that. You don't see it anywhere. And the new Renfield, the accusations being levied are pretty serious.
So in essence, reading from his post, he said in October of 2014, he wrote and directed a horror comedy short film called Renfield. It told the story of Dracula's hapless assistant coming to terms with the fact that he's been stuck in a toxic relationship with his master and enlists the aid of a sharp young woman to help him get out of it. Here's a link where you can watch it, and it is on YouTube.
Yep.
And it's called Renfield. And today, Universal Pictures released the trailer for their upcoming horror comedy feature film called Renfield. It tells the story of Dracula's hapless assistant coming to terms with the fact that he's been stuck in a toxic relationship with his master and enlists the aid of a sharp young woman to help him get out of it. Here's a link to the trailer. And if you watch these two side by side, or if you watch the short film and then watch the trailer, I have to hand it. I'm not going to leave. Can't levy accusations at Universal, but it is disturbing the similarities.
Yeah. It's again, this is his accusation.
Yeah.
But watching the film, he says that if I remember correctly, he says that he showcased this to a few film festivals that bigwig executives like Warner Brothers were at. That's kind of, look, I'm not saying he has a case because I'm no attorney. Motherfucker's got a case.
I mean, the thing is it's kind of interesting because if he can prove that could be a big payday for him.
I would say that when Crawl came out, and I saw the similarities to the script that I had written. And I don't know where that script got to, or I don't know because I showed the script to people, but I always kept it myself. And I kept the one that I showed people. People read it, but I don't know. That story could have made its way from Texas up to Philadelphia, landed in the hands of a pair of brothers who were brother writers, and then they turned around and made Crawl, which is similar, but there's a lot of differences in. For one, it takes place in Florida, not Louisiana. It's two main protagonists instead of one. They're both white people. My protagonist was black. The other one's dealing with struggling with personal stuff in her life that about being a swimmer and everything because it's going to be in water. And then of course my protagonist was dealing with the fact that she was paralyzed. Mine had one alligator. Theirs had like 50. So there were enough differences between Crawl and my script that sure we could we could say that, two people came up with a similar story about the same, roughly. I was shopping my script 2 years before Crawl came out.
Right.
And so I had no idea. So maybe we kind of tapped into the ether, the creative ether, and we both came up with a similar story, and that was pretty much it. But this one, after watching his short film, after watching the short that he released called Renfield, it was disturbing. The similarities, the bar sequence, the when the two of them are gabbing together, when he's gabbing with the girl, there's way too many things that are too similar, and
so there's a couple people that's talking about. They're saying that Bram Stoker's Dracula had a top hat. Yeah, kind of, right? Kind of had a top hat, but when you look at the design of Dracula in both Renfields, you can see that it's not similar. It's damn near the same. And by top hat, when you go look at Renfield's Dracula, it is obviously a call to the Bela Lugosi Dracula. It's obvious, right? With the lapels, the way that he's dressed and everything. And when you go back and look at the Bela Lugosi, never had a top hat. He didn't wear one, right? That's kind of that's the a deciding factor, I guess, why he believes that is a little bit of, not a little bit, but pretty much a direct rip of his character design and everything. So,
well, because it could be something where maybe, because he said he shot the short in 2014, so maybe you had somebody, a writer or an exec or a producer, maybe scouring the bowels of the internet and just kind of leaping around, and maybe kind of pulled something thinking that, you know what, this thing came out almost 8-9 years ago.
Yep.
They probably forgot about, because people will post stuff and then they forget about it, especially stuff from 2010,
right?
And then people can go on and just whatever. And maybe he thought hey, enough time has gone by. If we can pull some influence on, maybe no one will notice.
Yeah, he most definitely noticed. People are asking for the link. Let me see. Do you have that link for that?
Just put it up. I was literally just pulling it. So I've put the link to the Renfield short in the live chat. You can grab that, save it, pull it up in a new tab. But there's the link for it. And you can make the comparisons yourself. So, and definitely, if you watch it, definitely let us know. Let us know down in the comments below what you think after you get a chance to watch his short film and then turn around and watch the Renfield trailer again from Universal Pictures. Is there some, I don't know if there's malfeasance there. That's up for other people to decide, or if he wants to take action, or Universal has not responded to anything as far as I know. So, who knows?
Well, they don't have to, right? So that's the beauty part about being Universal. They don't have to say shit, right? They don't say a word. And you can make all the accusations you want until you actually put that shit in a court document and sue us. I'm not saying shit. Fuck you. And therein lies the problem. We're talking about teams of lawyers. The lawyers have lawyers. And this guy on the internet, what is he going to do? It's going to be a pretty tough case to win.
Yeah, I mean, at the most he can hope for is probably some kind of settlement.
Right.
Yeah, some sort of, And to clarify, Tony, let me see. You're right, Tony Regime. Christopher Lee did not wear a top hat. The Hammer horror version of Dracula was more taken after the Bela Lugosi, the Universal Pictures one. But Gary Oldman did wear a top hat in Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. In the sequences when he's walking on the street and he meets Mina for the first time, he is wearing a top hat. That's when he's wearing his kind of gray.
Yeah.
It was almost kind of like a gray-green.
He
suit.
was wearing a suit that would designate him as someone of wealth.
Someone of extreme wealth.
Extreme wealth,
yes.
right? So that's
and he's got the sunglasses, he's got the tinted lenses, and of course the very, very fine top hat. He'd be looking smashing, as a matter of fact.
Gary Oldman, that was probably the saving grace of that movie, because Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder were just not good.
It wasn't their best performance. No.
I thought the music, it was Gary Oldman, the music, Hopkins, the cinematography. I thought all of that was beautifully done, and of course the effects. the effects on Dracula were amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And yes, Antonio Regime, you are correct. He also had some funky hair. He had the weird old man hair.
Yeah, he did. And then when he was younger, he had that just immaculate fucking hairdo. It was all perfect and shit.
Just perfect, just coiffed.
Yeah.
So definitely, after you get a chance to watch the short, I have put the link there in the live chat. Let us know in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com what you think. Did Universal overstep, or are they within their rights? Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I find it to be very interesting. Let's see if your opinions are the same as ours, or if you see something different.
The cinematography looks a lot the same color scheme.
I'm just saying. It's a little disturbing.
The guy's got a case. I'm not a lawyer.
I'm just saying, like, okay, multiple people can come with the idea of like, oh, let's do a story about Renfield. I can see multiple people coming in. Yeah, fine. But the fact is, like, man, it's shot the same way, and the outfits are kind of the same. You're starting to get like I was just scrubbing through it real quick, and that's, he might be able to get a payout.
Yeah, I think he'd be able to get a pretty good payout.
All right, well,
lucky him. I wish fucking Universal Pictures would steal one of my movies.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, definitely let us know what you think. So we got some horror movies to talk about tonight. Some real winners.
Or at least one.
I think there's a couple solid ones in here. I don't think that there's going to be much turd polishing tonight. I don't think I need to break out my turd polishing rag or my turd polishing shine. And
on the side chat, how many of you believe that just load of bullshit that came out of JL's mouth right now?
Don't you poison the well against me, motherfucker. All right, so Johnny, what's first on the chopping block tonight? Now I get to use my new cool overlays that I created for this. Check this out.
Sarcasm, you are correct. Anyway, first up, we have the 1982 relatively unknown slasher flick, Madman, also known as Madam.
See, there was a request for it, so now we have the overlay. You like it?
Yeah, it's very nice.
Very cool. Let's check out this trailer.
Like me in the morning.
The turd polishing quilt? What the fuck?
Many strange things happen around here. He was a farmer, wife and 2 children. We used to live in that old house behind those trees. For no apparent reason, we'd stark, raving mad. He walked into his bedroom. The bodies of his wife and children have never been found. And if he hears you call his name, he'll come for you.
Come and get us, Madman!
Oh, that's what they meant by doing it and doing it.
Doing it. There's a weird ballet twirling in that scene too.
That shit was great.
Madman Ma.
I feel like there's a lot of spoilers in that.
I feel like everything that's good about the movie we just saw, you don't need to watch the movie anymore. You can just watch the trailer.
You just watch the trailer.
Like, that's it in a nutshell.
That's pretty much. All right. Madman, originally titled Madman, The Legend Lives, is a 1982 American slasher film. As we need to know that was American. Directed by some Joe Gion guy. Fucking gosh. Starring not very many people. Actually, there's a lot of people in there, but we have Galen Ross, Tony Fish, Harriet Bass, Seth Jones, Jan Clare, Alex Murphy, Jimmy Steele, Carl Fredericks, Michael Sullivan, and Paul Ehlers. Now, obviously, what you can tell, this is a movie about a bunch of kids. Well, kids, this group of people whom are
camp counselors.
Yeah, so camp counselors. No, we're not ripping off anything. You have camp counselors who are telling. It starts out with camp counselors telling ghost stories to kids and the campers, and obviously we get to the mad. They are loud or else we come and murder everybody. And then, not in any way, shape, or form is this meant to rip off, speaking of rip offs, any other movie at all. As she
Yep.
I gotta say, this was a fun little film. It's watching it, I can forgive the, we'll say, more than allusions to other movies because it's fun. It's campy kind of slasher, relatively unknown slasher film. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fun because it's just straight kills. They strip away a lot of the really exposition you have at the beginning. It's like, oh, this is Madman. You call him, just like the trailer, and then he just comes and just kills them,
just murders people. I do think it's pretty shitty that the first guy who gets the axe is the booze hound.
No, yeah.
Well, you got to take out all the misbehaving kids. There's the because it was so it's really, really interesting because the production of this film was actually really, really difficult, as it was for many pictures at the time who were it's Hillbilly Santa. He says Hillbilly Santa. It's shocking how much Madman looks like Billy Pond.
Yep.
It was just disturbing. I was like, wow, that's like really, but nonetheless. But I digress on that one. The picture in and of itself was at a time when low budget slashers were kind of on the rise, and people wanted to capitalize on any kind of slasher story that they could get their hands on. So in the wake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre and of course Halloween, people were putting up really, really strong slashers for without having to expend a lot of money. So low exposition, minimal acting talent. The writing is pretty simple, and all you need are some really, really graphic kills and just get it done. So. And yeah, he does kind of look like one of the freaks from Wrong Turn, and you can see the inspiration that this film had on slashers in the future. There were some things that were taken there. Now, the reason this one doesn't really get mentioned a lot, despite all the good things that we could say about it, is because it was overshadowed. And the reason for that number one, it was a very, very difficult production in and of itself because. It was when they were shooting it in 1980 is actually when they shot this thing. So they shot this thing in the same year that Friday the 13th released.
Yep.
Both of them are essentially take place kind of like with camp counselors being attacked by a slasher. So that was kind of similar. So they're already riffing off of that note. And then, of course, when they shot it, John Lennon was killed in the middle of it. So that disrupted production for a minute. Not to mention that shooting outside in the heat and where they were at was also incredibly difficult. If I remember correctly, reading about it, the guy who sings the song about Madman Mars in the beginning, because in this film, they put all the exposition about the killer at the front of the movie.
Yep.
So they open up the film, and here's 15 minutes, or I would say 10 minutes, of exposition, everything you need to know, with a little bit of flashback to give you a taste of to really start things off. And then we got nothing but like stalking and kills for the rest of the entire film. In fact, the's no exposition left. That's why when the movie ends, it just ends.
It was done, yeah.
We're just done, So it was. It harkened back to a time when films just ended like that. It was very similar to like Berserk that we talked about last week. Same with the trailer. All the kills are shown in the trailer, and when the movie ended, boom, it was just. We don't need no denouement. It's just boom, it's over.
Yep.
So it was classic filmmaking, classic slasher story, and there was also the difficulty in the fact that the film itself was based on the Cropsey legend. And of course, somebody mentioned there, Genova just brought up, so it went off of The Burning. Well, it technically didn't, because this film started production before The Burning did. Just like Friday the 13th got the jump on The Burning, right. This film got the jump on The Burning as well, because I hate mentioning their names, but the Weinsteins, who were behind, The Burning was the Weinsteins' first movie. The Burning, they had difficulty getting funding for it. And that delay in getting funding allowed other movies to capitalize on it. But the Weinsteins were able to market theirs a bit better and get theirs done faster. And because they did that, they were able to get it out. And then The Burning, which is directly taken from the Cropsey legend, resulted in Madman having to change a few things so that it wouldn't look like it was paralleling The Burning, because The Burning happened to get there first. It's all about not only can you get your funding fast, but can you get your film done and get it out there before the deluge of other slashers get there. So a kind of perfect storm of bad circumstances happened to delay Madman, but it came out, and I think it did extremely well, even though they had to drop some elements because they were too similar to the Cropsey legend.
Yeah, and that's all I have to say about that. Let's finish off.
In terms of looking and sitting there watching it, it's something that you can just kind of dive in and kind of have fun with it. It does have some great kills. I do like the kill with where the guy gets hung from the tree.
That was really impressive. The effects on this were really good.
And this is the reason why it's my favorite kill in this film, is because he gets the noose around, he gets drugged, and then the rope goes over the tree and starts hanging, and he's so close to the branch. I was sitting there thinking, we'll just grab the branch. But I figured most of the time it would camp out and go, oh no, he just suffocates and dies. And then you actually see him grab the branch and start pulling himself up. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. He's smart. All right, they're going. And then the Madman comes and pulls his ankle, and then he slips and breaks his neck.
Pulls his belt.
Yeah, but he pulls his belt.
Yeah, it just yanks him down and yanks him down hard enough to kill his ass. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because I've always liked kills where it's like, that's what I would do in that situation. And then you get smoked anyway, and you're like, good job.
Bitch, I got to rethink my job. Rethink my escape plan.
See, there were some interesting kills in it. I thought there was one thing
good. Look, for a 1980s, early 80s slasher, the effects were amazing. Like the throat to the axe to the throat and the axe to the chest, and then the lady getting decapitated, and the other guy getting
the hood.
Yeah.
And I loved the opening though, and because the film itself opens relatively slowly. You have a lot of exposition, you have a little bit of flashback, and then things kind of carry on. You have the one kid who wanders off, and he's like, "I'm going to go check out the old creepy house," which is kind of subverts expectations because he's the guy that survives because he's not the one on site, which is hilarious. But then everything's kind of slow and building up. You get some moments of POV. The guy sounds like a fucking Bigfoot, I swear to God.
I wanted to give him one of those COPD fucking things.
But then that very first kill, when the cook, who has no lines whatsoever, just opens a door and and then he just dies. And it was I was like, holy shit! There was no play whatsoever. He opens the door and is like, hello, wham, and he's just dead. It was like, oh fuck, that's where we're gonna go with this. Oh yeah, that's what it does. I dug this one because it kind of subverted some expectations. It didn't rely on the typical jump scares of a lot of Friday the 13th kills. Sean S. Cunningham put a lot of money on creating a scenario which you could feel the tension rising. You just didn't know how the kill was going to come off. Whereas this team put it more on, people are walking around, bam, then the killer's in your face, and then you're dead. And there's a little bit of stalking, and he wanders around, but not so much. It's like if he shows up, people are fucking dead. That's pretty much it.
That very Hitchcockian, impending doom feeling to each one of the kills. Like it's going to happen because they're telling you it's going to happen, and it just works. I mean, like I said, there's some things this movie does really well, and then it gets into we're just going to rip off Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh yeah, with the meat hook. Definitely the homage. And another thing is a lot of the interior scenes in the cabin were shot well. There are a lot of scenes where the lighting's on point. I was like, this is great cinematography for a low budget 1980s slasher film.
Yep.
So I mean it's technically sound. So in terms of cinematography and the makeup department, both of them were on point.
So, and luckily they were able to get through it. They were able to get through production as well because they became aware of The Burning being shot around the same time, and they were kind of like, oh crap. So the two films are too crazily similar, and so they made these quick changes and did all this rough started like scrambling, and they eventually were able to change the films a little bit. And as a matter of fact, there was even a deal with the name itself, because originally it was supposed to be Madman, the legend. What was it? The Legend Lives. And so there was the original title, but they changed that because there was a Frank Sinatra tour going on called Frank Sinatra: The Legend Lives, and they were like, "Oh crap!" So that was going on at the same time, so they had to drop the legend
at all.
They didn't want any kind of cancellation effect on the film itself. But the Cropsey story I find really, really interesting. So I'm aware. I like urban legends, and I know we probably have a lot of urban legend fans in the live chat. But if you're not familiar with the Cropsey legend, Cropsey is a New York City-based urban legend about a boogeyman-like figure. It's kind of like Cropsey goes out and he steals kids, and I think it's kind of like set around Staten Island. Is where it's this story. It's based on the story, or it segues into the story of Andre Rand, who was a convicted child killer from Staten Island, who the police suspected his crimes took place in the 70s and the 80s. And they think that's where the inspiration for the Cropsey legend comes from, was a maniac who kidnaps children and takes them. It was either, I think it was Staten Island or Long Island. I've heard many different versions of it. If you haven't had a chance,
islands in New York,
right? If you haven't had a chance, there was an amazing 2009 documentary called Cropsey, which is by and large one of the best horror documentaries I've ever seen, that came out and was a big hit at Tribeca. So if you haven't had a chance, check that one out as well. But the Cropsey legend is your classic American boogeyman, where the killer is out there, and here's the reason, all the cautionary tales of why we, of the things we tell our kids to keep them safe. So, and if the Burning happened to jump on it a lot fast, jump on it and get there quicker than Madman did. But honestly, I think Madman did it better. I like the Burning, but I also like Friday the 13th more than I like the Burning. So I think Burning did it okay, but I think Madman, by dropping the Cropsey stuff, they actually ended up creating something a little bit more original and allowed them to play with it. And I think smart decisions. They made smarter decisions than the Weinsteins did on the Burning. The Burning was your classic slasher, but it didn't subvert expectations, and it never surprised me. Even the graphic nature of the kills, I was kind of like, that's what I would expect. I was like, okay, cool. But Friday the 13th kind of it ratchets tension. It's like, what's going to happen? Boom, then it happens.
Well,
but the Burning was kind of like
with that
eerie.
The POV from the killer, you became the killer in Friday the 13th, which was cool.
Right.
But two things: A, it put you in the killer's shoes, and B, it was able to hide the killer's actual identity until they were ready to reveal it, which is great. And one of the things that I really dig about Madman was the fact that you don't have to be like super fucking hanging on every word. Who gives a shit? Just a bunch of idiots delivering lines. This is a great, fun movie just to have fun. You don't have to put on the serious, what are they trying to say here? What's the of the axe going through her throat like that? What are they trying to say? Like, motherfucker, just kill the bitch. We're going to do it. You know what I mean? It's fun. These movies like this, and again, I'm always going to have a bit of a partiality to these early 80s slashers, because, again, that's my time. I love these stuff. It's good times.
Yeah, it's basically a type of film that you can put on the TV while you're doing dishes or chores around the house,
right?
And then you're not going to miss anything important story. You kind of do your thing, and then as soon as you see someone alone in the woods going, "Hello," someone's about to die.
Yeah,
and then and that's it. And I thought it was hilarious because the blonde girl with the shotgun is. She should not have had a gun at any point.
At any point whatsoever. No.
She was carrying that thing. I'm like, what
you're gonna wind up hurting yourself more than the killer.
Yeah, right. She's got it under her arm with the fucking butt and the trigger behind her shoulder. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how small are you, or how big is a fucking shotgun?
Like an elephant gun. Damn.
What's the symbolism there? I think the word you're looking for is symbolism. What is this symbolism there?
What's the symbology?
What's the symbology there? So I'm liking. People are bringing up. They brought up Ed Gein.
Everybody's talking about how Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on true events. It's based on true events as.
So the character of Leatherface was inspired by the serial killer Ed Gein, by aspects of that case, the wearing skin and stuff like this. So that inspiration was taken. Tobe Hooper took that and incorporated it into the Leatherface character, and then of course Robert Bloch, who wrote Psycho, actually did not know, and Robert Bloch actually lived like 35 miles away from Plainfield, and when he was writing Psycho, he had no knowledge of what Ed Gein was doing. It wasn't until he was almost done with the book that Ed Gein's crimes came to light. And then all of a sudden he heard in the town of Plainfield, or Plainview, or Plainfield?
Plainview, I think.
I think it's Plainview. Mm-hmm. But so then he finds out after the fact, towards the end of the book, hey, Commander Darklight, good to see you. He finds out at the towards the end of the book that Ed Gein had done this in a nearby town, and so then decided to incorporate aspects of that into the book to make Norman scarier. But what he was really surprised by was that what he just conjured up as seeming like this would work, like this will work, seemed, when the story of Ed Gein came out, Bloch said that he was surprised at how similar what he conjured up in his head was to Ed Gein's story. So the two things kind of occurred independently of one another. And then Bloch took a little bit of inspiration to make Norman even scarier. But, those two things actually is kind of weird how that just kind of came up like that. And I know it said we had some other people kind of come into the live chat as well. I'll make sure I didn't miss them. There he is. Christo, good to see you, Christo. Kieran, and I think Angel Rivera, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, well, now that we've got new blood here and we're done talking about Madman, I want to ask the audience a question. What, in your opinion, obviously, you guys have your opinions. Most of them are wrong. But in your opinion, what is the greatest slasher ever? It's such a tough question to answer because there are really a lot of correct answers.
Madman was actually put up there towards the top.
CTA, damn it.
That was a CTA. You just said it.
Let us know at weekinhorror@gmail.com in the live chat or in the comment section down below. Oh, jeez.
Greatest slasher?
That's so hard. That's so difficult.
Greatest slasher of all time.
All time. I hate goat conversations. I hate them because there's so few people and so few things that could actually qualify. Because you got to look at like Nightmare on Elm Street, right? So Travis Brown says Nightmare on Elm Street. Cool.
I'm inclined to say Halloween.
But then, okay, right? So now we're talking about in the 70s, right? What could be considered arguably the original slasher. But then people say, well, no, you got to look at Psycho being the proto slasher.
Or Tony Regime, Peeping Tom.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Tom. So that's such a tough question to answer because I will say this: the late 70s through probably the mid, the late 70s through the 80s is the best group of years for the slasher genre. I don't think there hasn't been anything even close because I think slasher in the late 90s, 2000s, like it went to Saw and fucking all that other just kind of like torture porn type bullshit. And I mean, I haven't really seen a good slasher, like, just what I would consider a solid slasher.
Yeah, go ahead. Agreed. And I'll bring up one that I'm pretty sure no one thought of yet, Alien, because Alien's a slasher in space. It falls on every single trope of the slasher genre.
I can see that. I think as far as recent goes, Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon was a pretty good slasher.
It's tough though, right? Because you think about how many slashers have come out in. I'm not talking like remakes. Fuck the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, the 2010. Fuck the stupid Jason Voorhees remake. Fuck those two movies, right? Forget about them. But if you looking at the 80s, like the 80s is the pinnacle for slasher films. You had so many of the Massacre series. You had Nightmare on Elm Street. You had fucking Friday the 13th. You had Madman. You had all these other kind of, these little slasher films that are just amazing. The Terminator is not a slasher film.
Terminator is not a slasher. Alien is, because it has the tropes. The xenomorph is the killer. It stalks them. You still have the final girl, Ellen Ripley, so forth and so forth. It follows all of that. Terminator does not.
Although he is a killer who stalks them, and you do have the final girl.
You do have the final girl.
Maybe there's an argument to be made there.
But see, at the same time, you have the established group. So you have like the group, the college teens, the camp counselors, and even with Alien, you have the crew of the ship. Whereas the Terminator is just specifically after.
You have Sarah Connor and you have Kyle Reese and you have everybody in the police station. You have everybody that was named in the police station that all served a function.
Yeah, but they're not those people didn't know each other beforehand.
Yeah, it wasn't like
Is
like
that a
group of
requirement?
police
Is that
officers were
is that a
held
requirement
up the entire
though?
group.
No. Lance Henriksen's character and the other officer, I can't remember his name, but Silverberg, Dr. Silverberg, and that actor recently passed away a few days ago though. But all of them created a kind of group within the in the police station.
Here's the problem, though.
And Silverman survived to go into the sequel.
Here's a problem with Terminator. The one thing that I will say, that the reason why Terminator is not a slasher, because there's no slashing. It's all guns, it's all gunplay.
And the thing is, you're right, because one of the tropes of horror just in general is you have to have the bad death. You have to have the stabbing. You have to have the being ripped apart, maimed, torture. Guns doesn't fall into that. That's why you can have an action. That's why it's just a pure action movie isn't horror, despite the amount of death on it, because it can just be shooting and like neck snaps.
So like the T-1000.
Yeah,
maybe now Terminator 2, you might be able to make the argument.
So with Terminator 2, you could possibly get better, but it's really, really borderline because there's not that much suspense throughout. Even with Terminator 2, he can go, he turn and go stabby and all that other kind of stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to say that stabby. I did. But even
knives
then, it's
and
still,
stabbing weapons.
But the fact is, it misses some of like. It's not even aimed to be a horror movie. It's specifically aimed to be an action movie.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, the sarcasm brings it up. I would say Casey Cooper says Predator had slashing. Yes, it did.
But it had a lot of guns too. I don't know. Predator is probably closer to a slasher than.
I say Predator's closer to slasher than Terminator
I would
because
say that.
but again, you got the killer like ripping people's spines out and shit. So that's pretty horrific.
Again, we're still talking about the 80s at quintessential. So yeah, I mean,
trophies. It's like okay, so I'm thinking he's a serial killer.
Guy.
No, he's an intergalactic hunter. Oh, so that's what I get to claim. No, I spoke too much. Anyway, sarcasm brings up Sleepaway Camp, My Bloody Valentine, Happy Birthday to Me, Slumber Party Massacre, Hell Night. Yeah, definitely. Terror Train, April Fool's Day.
Hatchet.
So many.
DeNova 28 brings up Hatchet.
Yeah.
Hatchet. Yeah, the continuation of the Jason Voorhees story, the Cajun Voorhees.
Yeah, the Cajun Voorhees, yeah.
Oh, but definitely let us know in the comments below, of course, at weekinhorror@gmail.com what your opinion is. The greatest slasher ever. What is the GOAT of slashers? Ooh, Commander Darklight, Wolf Creek.
You just say that because you're in Aussie land.
Wolf Creek is fucking awesome. John Jarrett. I can't remember the last time I saw an actor love playing that role. Because to play it for 2 films, and then play it for 2 seasons of a series, and come back for a 3rd film, that's a dude who loves that role. Because he gets to just be the biggest fucking dick possible, and it's just funny to him. Oh. All right, Eugene.
All right, next up we have Fallen, which was released January 16th, 1998.
I do have to make a quick announcement that yes, this was an accident that JL gave Eugene this movie.
Let's watch the trailer. Dick.
Edgar Reese. Who's here? It's the brilliant detective who sealed my brutish fate. Remember this, Hobbs? What goes around really goes around. You have a safe trip, yeah?
I've been looking for you.
It's on my side.
Yes, it is.
Light up my life!
Criminals like Reese, they kill a few people, somehow it ain't their fault. But what took place tonight is the consequences of what I do.
You're home early today.
Or change.
Detective John Hobbs wants to uncover the truth.
What does Azazel mean? Now, my dictionary says that evil spirit of the wilderness.
Walk away, Mr. Hobbs.
But nothing in this world
Is on my side.
can help him solve this case.
There are angels. Some of these angels were cast down, and a few of the fallen were punished by being deprived of form.
Come on, get out of here.
And each touch
And at the execution, did he try and touch you?
Yeah, he did, actually.
passes the soul of a killer into someone new.
Well, I believe what I see, and I'm still trying to get my mind around what I just saw.
Some things, pal, you shouldn't know.
I know you, Hobbs. Put the gun down. I know who you are.
Put the gun down!
Is on my side. Hey, pal.
My work is based upon evidence.
And aren't your facts resistant to normal interpretation?
Hey, Hobbs.
You leave my family alone.
But I'm still having fun.
Denzel Washington,
How do we fight him? Is it even possible?
I believe it is.
John Goodman,
Jonesy, you know I didn't do this.
I know it is, Hobbs.
Donald Sutherland,
I know you know more than you're saying.
Haven't you done enough, huh?
Time is on my side.
Fallen.
And that revolving door scene was actually cut out of the original movie.
I know it's the what is it, the tire tractor
Yep.
the tractor tire scene. Fucking hell.
All right, well, there you have Fallen, directed by Gregory Hulbert, starring Denzel Washington, John Goodman, Donald Sutherland, Embeth Davis, James Gandolfini, and Elias Coates. And basically, you have a Denzel Washington plays a detective who, after sentencing someone he arrested to be executed, suddenly starts getting involved in the occults and try to chase down an evil spirit that begins copying some of the kills. Are we waiting for it?
I thought JL's coming back. What happened to JL? Uh-oh.
Oh no, he left us unsupervised.
Oh shit. I absolutely love this movie.
Yes.
It is one of my favorite horror films of all time.
Yes. This is actually
a second. My youngster just asked me not to curse because she's on a phone call. You know what I have to say about that? Get your butt over there and do your thing. You go on. I will do the best that I know how to not say curse words. There's going to be a lot of Jiminy Crickets and cheese and rices coming up.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
Oh, fiddlesticks. You know, funny story about fiddlesticks, and it's completely whatever, but funny story about fiddlesticks. Oral Hershiser, who was a pitcher for the Dodgers, who became the Texas Rangers pitching coach in the late 90s, never cursed, not once. He was not a cursor. And one day he came out to argue with one of the umpires about a particular call, and he got frustrated and said, "Oh, fiddlesticks," and got tossed from the game for saying, "Oh, fiddlesticks."
He got tossed for that.
Tossed from the game for saying fiddlesticks.
That's funny because I remember the bad guy. I remember one of the bad guys in Cat's Eye said that very thing when he's trying to catch the cat and the cat gets away and he tries to grab it and he misses. Like, oh, fiddlesticks. This I remember that from a movie. And just remember this huge this hitman kind of guy. He's a cleaner, and then the cat gets away and he dives for it and he's like, oh, fiddlesticks. And then I wonder if there's a connection to that. So, we got to put this in the movie. We're gonna have the big badass dude say, oh, fiddlesticks.
Follow.
I had to step away because I was about to have a coughing fit and I needed to step away from the computer for a moment. But a lot of love for this one in the chat. Obviously, Donnie does it. Says I would have to say this is my all-time favorite Denzel movie. Commander Darklight loves it. So does Raven Darkstar. Denova 28 as well. Lots of love for this one. Angel Runner says I loved it even after the plot twist at the end, or at the change up at the end, how Denzel gets the bad ending. So unfortunately, sometimes you just can't get that good ending.
Well, see, but that's part of it. That's part of the beauty of this film, right? Because we're hearing this from Denzel's point of view, like he's the narrator, and they're able to use the unreliable narrator using the protagonist of the movie. Is such a great little thing. This movie got so much hate, but kind of did get a whole lot of hate from critics and whatnot when it first came out. They completely missed the mark, as critics often do. But this film, I mean, hands down, I think it is one of the perfect movies, hands down.
It was in my personal opinion, I think a lot of people agree that this film is a brooding and melancholy masterpiece.
Yes,
I adored every aspect of this, and it handled the as far as a narrative goes, from a writer's perspective, I thought this film was incredibly well done. The bridge, trying to. I almost said bridging the gap, but or like that. But trying to write a story where something like a police procedural runs up against the supernatural in this respect, and it be in this kind of vein. It's very difficult to have that not come off as hokey with someone just being like, without it turning into kind of like a movie with a message. In that respect, like the supernatural is there, and then all of a sudden it's, I have to acknowledge supernatural, and all of a sudden I'm a believer, and through my belief I'm going to defeat the bad guy. That's not what goes down, because that is not realistic. That even in the face of the supernatural, you literally that's why everyone in this film is true to their character, and they're so brilliantly written.
Yeah,
everyone is solid.
The cast, holy shit!
Donald Sutherland, fucking James Gandolfini, fucking John Goodman. Goodman was on point.
Yes.
I loved just the little moment they have when he's talking about, and I love this because there's the Hitchcockian ambiguity that you never know if someone is actually taken over or not.
Right.
So, and I love the sequence because I sit and I've watched the sequence many times of Denzel and John sitting there after hours. They're sitting at their desk. And they're just talking to each other about purposes in life and meaning and what does it all mean, that whole kind of thing. And so Goodman is talking about, and Goodman has a sequence where he's talking about how, my wife says everybody's got their one thing. They got their one thing that they do exceptionally well, and that's what they do. And, it's like, well, what happens with it, and blah, blah, blah. And, Elias Koteas just fucking chewing it up at the very beginning, setting the stage for this whole thing.
Oh, and then, everybody talks about how this was a throwaway role for him. Like, no, it fucking wasn't.
Oh, hell no.
Amazing.
It's like he's the character with all the cards.
Right.
He has all the cards and he knows it, and everybody else is just like, he's just this boy like that, and he's just like, I know I've won.
Right. One of the reasons why this is one of the perfect films is because there's not a single character that is wasted. Not one. Not one. You can be like, we could do without him. No, every character, every performance is just, it's amazing. That
especially and I got to give props because people haven't mentioned him yet, but I have to give props to I want to make sure I get his name correct. Gabriel Cassius as Art.
Yeah.
was magnificent in humanizing his brother, because when it comes down to it, when you watch this movie, Denzel Washington's character, I mean, he's a New York. We don't say specifically this is New York. I think it's Philadelphia, but which is where this was shot. But his character is a dick. His character is not a nice person. He's a bit of an egotist. He's really kind of like bought his own out, but he knows how good of a cop he is. Yeah. He's an exceptionally good cop. He's got fantastic instincts, but he's also not really he approaches every situation like, I guess, an officer would. He approaches it very, very truthfully. That, this person has information I need, and I need to treat them as in a specific. Everybody's at arm's length. He doesn't really trust anyone other than his partner, and so because they've been up 12 years, and so he comes off as kind of a dick sometimes,
right?
And he does, like a smart ass, but even that utilization of that character is like, we get it, and it's realistic,
well,
and it's gritty, and
right. It takes away it takes away a little bit from that dickness, right? It humanizes Denzel's character, because, like, look, he really is this. He's taking care of his brother who is mentally deficient, who also happens to have a son. And Denzel's in this really difficult position of trying to be having to be the breadwinner for and take care of his nephew.
And he leaves all that at home, but he leaves all, and he compartmentalizes.
Right.
He's
exactly.
great at,
And when he's around Art, and I forget the character's name when he played his nephew, but when he's around those two characters, he has this kind of teddy bear quality to him. It's nuanced, but you could tell that in Denzel's performance, that the love for his family is very much a driving force. Yeah. In why he does what he does.
Well, see, what that does is that gives him layers, because how good he is as a cop, when you are the best at something, you have to be kind of cocky a little bit,
right?
Because you have to know, if you were the best NFL quarterback, you have to believe you can make that throw. And that just comes with the territory, some of, I'm the best, I can figure this out, throw it to me and get out of my way. And in a lesser actor's hands, that could have been all sitting there dick. Now they're unlikable. Now they're
right.
But because you have Denzel Washington and the fact you have so many good performances, I'll give credit to the director, Gregory Holbit, also, of putting these performances together, of being able to guide the actors of where they need to be. And you can have these layers, so he can be cocky, kind of a dick, but you have that sympathetic element. That's a fully fleshed character.
That's a very human person. It's a very human character.
But the thing is, you get that with all of the characters,
right? Even James Gandolfini in particular.
He's great.
I loved his balance where he's kind of tiptoeing, where it's kind of like, I'm new. He's the new guy in the department. He's still kind of feeling his way. So he's got to kind of assert himself and be this kind of guy, because he can't be a pushover. So he's got to like earn his place. Everybody's got their role that they play, and they play, and of course, expertly cast. I love the sequence in the opening sequence in the bar, and of course when they're looking at the plaque down in the basement and everything, and but as James Gandolfini was, he was a great loss when he passed, but he was magnificent. I love Gandolfini. Everybody was fantastic. The film, when you very first see it, the film does keep you guessing, and it's great for repeat viewing, because I like, just like The Thing, trying to go back and find out who's infected, like who has, who's been taken over, who hasn't. Is there anything like this? And that's why I watched that scene with Goodman and Denzel, because I cannot for the life of me figure out, because once Azazel takes a person over, he knows everything that they know. And so Goodman plays that role off so well that it's indistinguishable from, is it literally Jonesy and Hobbs having a conversation amongst themselves, or is Hobbs talking to Azazel? And Azazel's just riffing off of what Goodman, what Jonesy knows. Like, how long had he been? And I love the little pieces like that. You never can suspect anyone, and so it's wonderfully shot, wonderfully done, and a perfect use of the down the barrel cinematography where we're looking at each other. So similar to Silence of the Lambs, because this is where that kind of camera work is effective in order to put the audience in the shoes of the individual who is facing the insurmountable odds of what he's facing. So extremely well done. Hey, Anna, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think there's a wasted character. I don't think there's a wasted moment in this movie. Talking about like I said, this sequence when when Denzel has to shoot the innocent bystander, right, who was taken over, and that's kind of nobody can hear a word you're saying.
Sorry, yes, and the guy with the blanks in his gun, absolutely. Sorry.
Yeah. And that little girl who comes up, she was brilliant, catty and calculated, and you just, it's like, even that small of a role, she had so much fun with it, and the performance that was pulled from that, just amazing.
And see, I've pulled up a little bit because I just wanted to learn a little bit more about the director. And he comes from a heavy television background. And one of his big things was he was a director on NYPD Blue, which was leading
you can see that.
He also directed Primal Fear with Edward Norton. And then he also directed for a long time Hill Street Blues. So this was kind of like right up his alley. He understands how police officers and how police precincts work.
The bullpen. He has a unique understanding of the bullpen that few do. Like he's been in the trenches and he's watched how it works, and that he knows how these people kind of operate around one another in their personal lives and in their professional lives, and how they keep these things separate, and they compartmentalize these different kinds of things and how they deal with stuff. That's really smart, really, really good stuff. Sarcasm said, I have to say this, I've never been a fan of the Stones. You Monkees fan pussy. Which I am quoting directly from the film there. It's like, you a fan of the Stones, Hobbs? I bet you aren't, you Monkees fan pussy. Oh, but one of the good ones, and definitely one of the most, I would say, one of the most underrated Denzel performances. I can't think of a bad Denzel performance. And of course, all of us have agreed Denzel Washington, one of the greatest living actors of our time. I haven't seen a movie that he was in that I didn't like. Even John Q. I mean, I was like, holy shit. Even he brings a gravitas to a role that is beyond impressive. I think he can only be, I think the only actor I've ever seen overshadow him is Tom Hanks. So
that's you know what, the Philadelphia conversation is for another show.
That is for another show. That's
that
true.
would be for the something else.
Well, you did bring
that
up
would be
that
for the drama the weekend drama.
you did say that Russell Crowe kind of overshadowed him in virtuosity, because Russell Crowe got to run off like this, but then he turned around. But then Denzel got to turn around and overshadow Russell Crowe in American Gangster because he was fucking amazing in that one.
Because you forget Russell Crowe's in that movie.
You do.
You actually was like, oh, that's right, he was the FBI guy.
No, he was so physically different than people had been used to seeing Russell Crowe.
Right.
He put on a little bit of gravitas himself.
That's mean. That's mean.
It happens to the best of us. Look at me.
It does. He was. If you haven't seen Unstoppable, he's he went, or was it Unstoppable?
You're talking about with the train?
Yeah, no, it's the one where he's the psycho who road rages against the chick and then pursues her through the movie to try and kill her.
I can't remember this one.
Oh,
it was a recent one.
Oh yeah, that's different. Because Unstoppable is the one with the train, and Chris Pine.
Unhinged. My bad. Unhinged.
Okay.
Unhinged was because he's already cracked and he's off his meds, and then he happens to run into this chick who pisses him off and cuts him off in traffic, and he road rages, and then that's where our movie begins. He's like, "Fuck, I'm gonna kill this chick at any cost!" Like, son of a bitch. But he was quite large in that one.
It happened, right? Well, he says that. He doesn't like being Maximus Decimus
Meridius.
Or like
generals of the armies of the North.
Yeah. So he has to work
Commander of the Felix Legions.
Yep.
Husband to a murdered wife, father to a murdered son.
No, we've not seen that movie. We have not seen that movie far too
And
much.
I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. I think you have been afraid all your life. I love this. Do you think I'm afraid? I think you have been afraid all your life. I love that. I just love the sequence between the two of them.
Yeah.
I wonder, did your friend smile at his own? I wonder, did your friend smile at his own death? You should know, he was your father. Oh,
move, motherfucker!
But I want to ask the audience, since we've been talking about Denzel Washington, what is your favorite Denzel Washington film? Because there's so many.
I hate these questions.
Ones. So, because it's so many, and we already got a couple in the chat. Glory is like so. It was amazing. Watched that the other day, just again. And talking about Training Day is just.
I got to go with Dave Cernick, and good to see you, Dave. Thanks so much for being here. Man on Fire.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought he was great in the Pelican Brief.
He's good. Yeah, he's good. Yeah. I mean, Pelican Brief. Philadelphia, Malcolm X, of course.
Great Malcolm X.
You know,
I tell you what. You know, let's change the question. What is Denzel Washington's worst movie?
Not possible. I don't think there's no answer. There's no answer to that.
What is his best movie? It's tough. It's so tough.
Oh, see,
God, so many good ones.
The Preacher's Wife.
Oh, maybe? Fuck. He was. Flight, Book of Eli. Yeah. Fucking hell. The Equalizer series, The Bone Collector.
I loved Equalizer. Those are just fun. Those stupid as shit.
Oh yeah,
stupid, but it's just
God. He was so good in Flight. God damn, he was good in Flight.
Rolling the plane in the station, just
him, just keeping it cool, just keeping it cool. Well, I mean, he's drugged out of his mind, and he's just like, yeah, it's all good, all day long.
I drank 4 bottles of whiskey or vodka, and I'm on
cocaine.
And I saved.
So the FAA has concluded the only way you could have pulled this off is if you were on drugs. That's how you survived. Ooh, Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide.
Fucking him and Gene Hackman. Fucking A. Manchurian Candidate. Oh, so many good
Andrew
ones.
Rivera is correct. All of them.
All of them.
The only right
That
answer.
is the correct answer.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
well, definitely let us know.
Now we get into the back end of the fucking show, and there's a reason why I call it the back end.
The tail end.
That was the peak, everybody.
The tail end. Ooh, Deja Vu. I was thinking about the time one. Deja Vu.
Oh, yeah,
was good. Yeah,
Deja Vu.
We're about to fucking plummet with this next movie.
We're not going to plummet.
Oh, yes, we are.
All right. Okay, so this next one that we're going to talk about, released January 18th, 2010, we have the horror film Growth.
Starring Chili de Castro.
He wishes.
Yeah,
let's check out this trailer. Nah. Let's go.
I'm sitting it up.
I thought you weren't going to be scared of anything.
I want to sell this place and have it be done.
Bottom or top?
I like it on top.
Good. It's all yours.
That blonde right there, she is shockingly talented.
Your great uncle's passing. You never talked about what happened. Mason was a friend.
We've managed to contain the outbreak. There have been fewer than 24 deaths.
We knew the risks going into it. I know what went wrong, and I know how to fix it.
Come here.
This is, sadly, part of the process.
Something's wrong with Justin. Oh my God.
I'm getting help.
I need your help. My brother is sick.
When I have produced a perfect strand, unlocking the potential inside each and every one of us.
You should leave him.
Is there a problem here?
We should go outside.
Strength, intellect, vision.
What is that?
I came to see the man who spoke of greatness, but never understood what it meant.
Parasites feed on adrenaline. Once they have its taste, they grow. You need to find him. Mason, it's over! I want this! This is Adam's rib.
So discount Slither.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. And hey, Leanne Richer, and happy birthday, Leanne. I saw that. So happy birthday to you. Thanks so much for hanging out. So yeah, Rodeo says it sucked. Now it's trivia time. Bah bah bah. No, not just quite yet. But oh dang it, I totally.
What'd you do?
That's how badly I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
I closed the tab on it.
Skip it over.
So, Growth, directed by Gabriel Cowan and written by Gabriel Cowan, Devin Adair, and John Suits, starring Marcia Monroe, Christopher Shand, and Nora Kirkpatrick. The film follows a group of friends who go to an island so that one of them can kind of close out a land deal on some property that she inherited. And it turns out that 20 years ago, the site was the location of an experiment, of a parasite experiment that resulted in parasites that could, when they infected a human being, could make them into superhumans, but they kind of devolve into these monsters. And then, of course, it was trapped on the island, and now they're there, and it has new victims. And then there's a new outbreak, and shit, as Eugene likes to say, shit gets real. Shit gets gross. So, yeah. So obviously there's some problems with this one. And Johnny was right. This is not the problem with this one, okay? And I have to give to this. I had no idea. Nora Kirkpatrick is actually, and you wouldn't expect it, because there's like this added in scene where she's playing an accordion. You remember that? I was like, that was a little odd. She's actually a Grammy-winning accordionist.
She's Weird Al's sister.
So I found that out after the fact. She's actually like she's also a ridiculously talented writer. So she's a very accomplished writer and a Grammy-winning accordionist, which probably why they had brought the accordion, even though she barely uses it. It was like, that's odd. Well, why give her? Oh, okay, because she's an accordionist. Okay, that makes sense. That explains why that was in the movie. But the biggest problem with this one, despite the fact that I felt it was shot well, the story was decent, the effects kind of like. And the parasite effects were not great, but the makeup effects I thought were fairly solid.
I will say this. So you guys are all familiar with filters. Hey Man, Nice Shot. And
yes.
The reason why that came about, that I forget, county commissioner type. I can't remember exactly what his position was in government, but he got found out. He was actually innocent. But anyway. So the headshot that we saw in the trailer, when you go back and watch that terrible video, you can see that they paid careful attention to what actually happens in a headshot. I mean, it was a very well done practical effect.
Yes.
So I'll give them that. Outside of that,
the makeup effects were decent. There were some decent things about the film in itself, and of course, there's the stereotypical, as far as horror films go, the bad ending that you can expect. The parasites, because they get destroyed in salt water, but somehow they get off the island. They wind up in Korea, so you get the whole continuation of that, like the epilogue that's set in South Korea. But the problem with it that I saw with this one, and yes, sarcasm. Well, the band that she's a part of, that she plays accordion with, has won a Grammy in the past. Right. So, and Dave Cernik kind of reminds me of Squirm. You're not wrong on that. The problem with this one is that I get the feeling that this was one of those films that was made as a springboard to do for the people to do other things. Yeah. Essentially, it's kind of like a movie that comes along that the actors do because it's easy. There's not a lot of heavy lifting. It's a paycheck. It's a paycheck. It's an easy film to do. There's not a lot of heavy lifting as far as acting goes. The bulk of the responsibility falls on the down. The bulk of responsibility falls on the makeup and special effects department. And so there are directors that could direct this one in their sleep. It's a cut and dry 1, 2, 3 paint by numbers horror film. But for entertaining purposes, there are so many other movies that did this better. That does the story of parasites doing stuff better. You've got fucking Shivers, you've got Splinter, which is far superior to this, and actually a lower budget film that was far superior to this. Slither, of course, Night of the Creeps, which is one of my favorite ones that is very similar to this one. there's just so many that do it better, and that's why this one felt kind of lazy. Because this isn't really meant to be kind of like a demo reel. Yeah, it was just kind of like, look what we can do. We can do a movie together. We've NAA, the new artist alignment.
There's something to be said about making a movie to make a movie, right? So being able to say, look, we may not have X, Y, but we've done it before. This, you may not like it. It may not be perfect, but we've done it before.
It was direct to DVD, so which is why probably not a lot of people saw it. It was pretty much what likely growth was a script that was deemed way too similar to other things. Typically, what you'll see is that sometimes scripts will make it out there that people will see, and then someone will pick it up. Some studio will pick it up, or they'll buy the rights to it, and they'll be like, okay, we're going to sit on this one, and we'll use it when we need it. And then if enough time goes by, they'll be like, well, we can't do anything with it. Let's sell the script off to somebody else. So it's possible that NAA bought this one, probably picked up the script on the cheap, and was like, we need this in order to do this, because movies can be done for tax purposes as well, and to showcase the talents of other people. And so this is one of those scripts that could have been handed down to a relatively to Gabriel. It was Gabriel Cohen who wrote it. He may have gotten the opportunity to do it because, a studio came along and says, okay, it's a fairly simple film. Let's take a shot and let's run with it this way. And so he got to direct, so he followed it along. He gets to do it, and it's not that there's nothing new that it brings to the genre. There's many, many better ones you could do. So it's one of those ones that was probably done for tax purposes, just to be like, we've got this. We'll see a little bit of return. We don't have to spend that much money, and it's really, really easy to do. So here you go.
It's something that's straightforward, and the thing is to get a lot of the bigger jobs, they ask, do you have feature film experience? It doesn't matter how many short films or how many commercials you worked on. It's, do you have feature film experience?
Right.
So you can take something like this, just basically just go through it, knock it, distribute it out, like I said, straight to DVD. So that way, if somebody asks, you can check yes in that box. Yes, I have directed a feature film.
It also, it was something that I found interesting was that Gabriel Cowan was originally a musician before he kind of got into directing, writing and directing. And so he's familiar. If you look at his background, he's really, really familiar with composing music videos, as far as like the process and what they go into as far as a visual style. And you can see that translate in this picture is kind of like the music video feel to a lot of the action sequences, or a lot of the interstitials and the transitional pieces. Yes,
all the what I mean, the circling around and those big movements are very much you can see the music video influence.
Yeah. And it's funny because he started a band with David Arquette. So
and now we know why he's a film director.
He started a band with David Arquette, and they helped score Scream 2 and Scream 3, which I found to be really, really interesting.
You play bass for him.
What's his Dog Star? Dog Star is Keanu Reeves' band? Yeah. So you can see where he gets his kind of take. This may, like I said, it likely, he sold the movie, he was able to make it, and it launched other opportunities because he was a composer for television for a while. He's done his thing, and you can kind of see that. It's just one of those cheapy ones that's easy to make and doesn't really require anything of anybody as far as actors go. And, he's able to get a couple of names. I know that, what's his name? I can't remember. You see him in everything.
Santa Claus, yeah.
You know who he is. Oh, I got
it.
Santa Claus. The guy from Office Space.
Yes, Richard Reel. Reel. Yeah. So you get a couple of names. Ian Patrick Williams has been in some stuff. Of course, Brian Krause of Sleepwalkers fame. So, it's just, this is one of the things that comes around. It's not terrible. You can as far as a horror film goes, with this type of subject, you can do much, much better. There's ones that have just done it better. They're more intense, more engaging. Effects are a little bit better. Like I think Splinter,
one of those movies that is serviceable for what it is, and it's not meant to be a huge blockbuster. This is meant for people to say, yes, I have shot a feature film.
Right.
I have feature film experience. I can complete. So that's why it's serviceable. Outside of that, you're right. So many movies have done this better.
It doesn't bring anything new to the better
Right.
living through mad science kind of subject, or because they don't expound on the science and like that. So it's not even really a sci-fi thing.
Right.
All the science fiction is all exposition to the film. So this is all about just the parasites taking people over and turning them into monsters and shit. And then of course,
superhuman monsters at that.
Right, and then I have to say, if you want to go with it, like Shivers was far superior. It's 1975 Canadian science fiction horror film. It was directed by Cronenberg, and you could definitely see the Cronenberg influence on this one because except in the Cronenberg one, it leans heavily into the sex because that's what Cronenberg is about making sex creepy and scary and utilizing that, juxtaposing that against horror and body shit and body horror. So I think Shivers did it better, and then of course other films did it better. This is kind of one of those drops in the bucket, unfortunately forgettable. Probably could have been better, but was never intended to be anything more than it is.
It never was. And a lot of times, even with actors, you can get say B-level actors if they have availability on their schedule. A lot of times you can get them pretty cheap. Like I'm pretty sure, like I said, I can't remember the guy's name from Office Space. You can probably get him for cheaper than what people think.
Oh yeah. Well, he was in the Last Lovecraft, which is a horror comedy about this cult trying to raise up Cthulhu, and the hapless office geek who winds up finding out he's the last descendant of H.P. Lovecraft, and he has to go on this venture. Well, he's like a hapless office geek, and Richard Reel plays his boss. So he pops up every once in a while to be like, there he is, and he just
it's a payday,
right?
That's it.
So given that this one just there's so many others that do it better, and you could watch this one and it's fairly entertaining. You're not going to get much out of it. Like I said, there's much better ones, but I got to ask the audience. We want to ask, what do you think is the best Parasite horror film? If you want to, there's so many to choose from, and I think ones that did it with a comedy spin, ones that did with a sci-fi spin, ones that did with, if you can go to Demi Moore's Parasite and go with the kind of like the post-apocalyptic spin on it. Let us know what you think down in the comments below, of course, in the live chat here. What is the best of the Parasite horror films? Oh, Night of the Creeps. Fucking A. Thank you, Angel Rivera. Night of the Creeps is just one of the best. Come on. Tom Atkins? Because everybody knows I'm a Tom Atkins just whore. I really am. I am a Tom. I'll freely admit it. Thrill me. It was like, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. You answer the phone with this, boom, thrill me. He's like, because he knows it's going to be bad news. It's always bad news.
Never good news. No.
It's never good news.
Never.
All right. So, Johnny. Oh, come on, dude. This one's good.
No, it is not.
Johnny fucking hates this one.
Oh, my God.
I already have comments for this
I know why he hates it, but...
I don't want to talk about it. I quit.
Take us home.
I quit the show. We are talking about the 1989 Wish.com Alien. It's called The Terror Within. So bad.
We found the set from Aliens. Cool. Let's shoot something with it.
So Angel Rivera says jail admitted the alternative title was Wish version of Alien. So let's check this one. Sir Cab says, yeah, I love Corman. Let's check out this trailer. Thank you, Sarcasm. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, that's so aliens. That's so alien. on, Hicks. I mean, not Hicks.
I mean, the girl that survives has Sigourney Weaver's haircut.
I mean, come on.
Like, come on.
Dun 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 dun. Oh yeah.
The Terror Within is a 1989 American science fiction film directed
on,
by
man.
Terry Knotts, starring George Kennedy, Andrew Stevens, star Andrew. Fuck this movie. And Terry Trees. As you can see, this is a post-apocalyptic future where people fight a monster that is not a ripoff from Alien at all. It's not a ripoff. Fucking hell. I hate this movie. Okay? Because it is somebody took the Alien script and said, hey, how can we take one of the greatest science fiction horror films of all time and turn it into a giant pile of shit?
That's exactly it's like every bad idea that was brought to Ridley Scott that he shot down somehow got in a pile and moved to this. I mean, every idea, like I feel like even the monsters, the gargoyle was like, hey, what do you think of this? And Ridley Scott was like, no, do better. And then you get the xenomorph, which is far better. I mean, even like the sounds of the gargoyle is just no effect, no like the screeching xenomorph that doesn't sound like a human made it. No, it's just a guy in a mic.
Yeah.
It was reminiscent when I was watching Madman. When we were watching Madman, I swear, it's like every time he sounded like that, I was like, is this guy supposed to be a killer or supposed to be a Bigfoot? Because he lumbered around like a Bigfoot, and he sounds like a Bigfoot, and what is that?
This is the original Alien xenomorph concept art, okay? Just going to put that out there.
Sir Cat says, okay, first off, if you saw one of those gargoyles in real life, you would straight shit yourself. You are correct. I would straight shit myself. I would do what the black guy does in this movie when he turns around and the thing is standing in front of him. Ah! And then I would die. That's pretty much what would happen. So I get, so obviously, yes. The first, when you watch this movie, there is almost shot for shot. Either this came out in 1989, Alien came out in 1979, Aliens came out in 1986. Obviously, Corman and the director took some liberties and pulled some shot for shots directly from Aliens. Obviously, Stevens' character, David, is modeled exactly after Hicks, and of course, Sue is modeled, directly after Ripley. I get that. You go with what works. And Corman, I'm not going to judge Corman. Ridley Scott had something that he was trying to say. He was utilizing not only the scariness of the monster and the fact that he didn't show a lot of the monster. You don't see a whole bunch of it. He was using those kind of you let your imagination fill in the blanks aspect, but he was using the metaphor to be scary as well. And of course, the whole vent sequence, and then wandering. There's so much that's taken from those two. So yes, is this an Aliens clone? It absolutely is. But the difference being is that whereas Ridley was more subtle with his metaphor, with the idea of the reverse rape and the pregnancy, killing the host and everything, and how it happened to men in that respect, and so he played on that subtlety very, very well. Corman is a bit more upfront because Corman, much like Cronenberg, much like Cohen, a number of other directors in the 80s and the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, one of the things that they really, really do, and I appreciate Corman for this, is they take sex in this puritanical society that we live in. These directors will take, or the directors and producers will take sex, something that Americans as a whole, because of our puritanical foundations, have a real, are really skittish about. We don't like to talk about it. We don't like to show nudity. Show as much violence and blood and death and gore as you want. Just don't show any nipples. Okay? And as you'll notice,
don't show any female nipples.
Don't show any female nipples. That's right. You show guy nipples all you want, because and it's true. Ridley Scott did have H.R. Geiger as well, or H.R. Giger as well. So the problem on this one is that, the difference between this one, I'm going to say this is a problem because I think it's a saving grace, is that Corman leaned heavily into the idea of sex and the idea of pregnancy and, of course, abortion. Instead of other films which may do it a little bit subtly, the abortion debate is very much on point on this one. It's very much the forefront. And he doesn't hit you in the face with it, but it is very, very apparent. Because 1973, I believe it was, when Roe v. Wade had just been passed. And then there was the 1980 decision in which the federal government, or the Supreme Court, ruled that the federal government was not responsible for giving, was not responsible. It was not a constitutionally protected right to have government-funded access to abortions. And that was up for the states to determine a level of funding for that kind of coverage. And so that was a landmark decision that kind of kind of like off-kilter Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was a massive win, but this one kind of like brought it up, and it was like, well, is it a constitutional right? Is that healthcare and that well-being a constitutionally protected right? And so abortion rights and access to abortion was, and being a protected aspect of healthcare, was a very much a forefront in everybody, in kind of like, in our society at the time. And so already we're talking about things that the American public is talking about, things that make us deeply uncomfortable because of where we come from. And then you have these great horror directors that come up with these movies in a way that throw it in your face. Same with David Cronenberg, will throw it in your face and make you, and use that against the audience. They say, oh, our audience is naturally skittish of sex and pregnancy and showing nudity and what that entails about our characters. So let's just run with that and make it really, really gross and gory and really tie the two horror elements together. Especially when it's this, you're bringing up the concept of a human, or a human female, being raped by a monster, and then choosing, and then not knowing whether she was impregnated by her human lover or by the monster itself, and being able to have the choice to get rid of it. And then, of course, she goes through the self-abortion and winds up killing herself. So, in that respect, we look at it as like, we see what the ramifications are of not having the right to choose immediately. So that, I think that was put forward really, really strongly. I think we can see where Corman sits on the issue.
Well, the thing is you could definitely dive into that, just not with the mask of aliens.
Yeah, well, no, you can dive into that, but you shouldn't do it with a mask of aliens, because Alien already did that.
Mm-hmm.
That conversation was already happening. That's one of the things that irritates me the most about this movie. It is a direct ripoff of Alien, both in form and in function. This is a garbage movie. This is one of those, and I'm sorry, I know a lot of corporate, I know this is a garbage movie because it is blatantly ripping off everything about it. It's not as if they say, hey, we're going to do an Alien-like movie. We're going to have our own kind of conversation. Like, no, we're going to do Alien again and have the exact same conversation they had back in the 70s, but we're going to do it now.
I wouldn't say Alien had that conversation. I think that really didn't come up until this one was obvious, and people were having this conversation when the movie came out.
Hang on a second. You're talking about a movie that utilized H.R. Giger. His artwork was not subtle. His artwork was not very specific in what he was attempting to accomplish.
Right.
So there's no way that when Ridley Scott saw H.R. Giger's work and said, "Hey, that wasn't an accident. It wasn't. Well, we didn't intend to have this type of comedy." Yes, they absolutely did, especially when they hired Sigourney Weaver for that role. So there's no. There are a lot of people talk about, well, they didn't have that conversation. No. That very much was brought up, and very much was the conversation that they wanted to have with Alien. Absolutely. And this fucking movie comes out and shits all over that. It just completely takes a dump on it.
Did it shit all over it, or just tell it in a different way?
No. There's telling it in a different way, which would have been a completely different movie. And then they're shitting all over it, which is taking Alien and remaking it on Earth terribly.
Because when you look at like the original Alien, the fact that it's just in space, because you have to isolate to even have something like this, you have to isolate your characters.
Right.
And so in Alien right off the bat, it's like, okay, well, let's put this in space. Boom. Natural isolation. We get it. Instead of having this whole backstory of gargoyles have taken over the world and we're trying to radio this outpost and we're trying to survive for this, you have this whole exposition that's set up to replace the fact they're not in space. That's exactly what it is. And obviously, if they're in Earth, then you have to somehow get the creature instead of them finding the creature on the planet in Alien. You have to bring the creature to them. And then the thing is, like, a lot of it was just pure execution, where you see the creature crawling through the vent. It just looks like a guy on his hands and knees. Like when you see the xenomorph doesn't look anything human. Oh, right. Like at all. When it's moving through, when you see it moving through the vents, and even in Aliens, the second one, it feels like it's just this creature that's the natural way it moves, instead of you have a guy on his hands and knees just kind of like low crawling through. And it's just, there's these little nuances and these little details that this movie just missed out on. The sound design was not great. It's just not. The creatures.
Kennedy's ADR was not.
Yeah,
it was just really, really off.
It missed. And I understand a lot of Roger Corman is lower budget stuff, but you could have made a movie similar to Alien at even a lower budget and still make it good. It's just a lot of execution, and they didn't do anything to make it their own. When we talk about, like, if you're gonna rip off something, rip off from the best, but you always have to twist it and make it your own. Mm-hmm. And he just didn't.
Seemed very lazy.
Yeah. Because even like the lighting and cinematography, Aliens, second one.
Yeah. I mean, it was apparent. It hits you in the face just how much of a rip it is. It absolutely is a rip. And I think he took what worked. He utilized what worked in order to tell a specific story in a different way. And really kind of in Corman's mind, I could see that Alien and Aliens had aspects to them regarding the idea of reproduction and pregnancy and speculative fiction. That they told that in a particular style, and it was subtle. You know, you can pick up on this, or you could just see it for a straight just alien killing human beings. You know, the horrific nature of, you know, things bursting out of your chest and shit. But then he added to it because he may have been a proponent. Like, you know, art reflects who we are as people. And so he told a story that had been told before, but he told it in the way that he wanted to tell it, to put more emphasis on these things because he felt that they were important in the respect. So possibly making it a more of a forefront, more obvious in the deal, like the idea of the ability to choose and a woman's rights to be able to terminate a pregnancy, and the fear, the terror that comes with, you know, not knowing, or especially in the instances of rape. So these things obviously very important to both the director and to Corman himself, and it was a way to just kind of bring that up and just be like, hey, we got this topical thing, these fall into things that we believe in, so let's kind of retell this and really, really focus on the things that we find to be culturally significant at the time. Because I can understand, you know, being released in 1989, then yeah, I get that. Or if it had been released because they were released in 89, but they're obviously shooting this in 88. So I get why he went in this direction, and it did it in classic Corman style. You know, where we're not going to worry about budget, we're not really going to worry about effects. We're going to worry about, well, do we have a decent monster, and can we hit the marks that we want to hit? And that's pretty much it.
The answer to both those questions is no.
I think he did. I honestly think he did, and that's why the movie got a sequel as well, Terror Within 2, just a couple of years later. So, Hey, Joe Bob Briggs loved the movie. He thought it was fantastic, and he commented that that it should be required viewing for every member of the Supreme Court. So, and it's got everything.
Or they could watch the original Alien. Same thing.
It's a matter of, I get what Roger Corman, and I agree, and it's a topic that should be talked about, and when we talk about with women's rights, it just gets me just the execution. Like, I wish he came up with something just more original, because obviously you watch Aliens and go, I can do that, and then that's exactly what happened. But I would like to see something new, to take it in a different direction, and maybe if he wants to use a monster, getting a better monster. It's just execution is where
he did better with films like in 1980 with Humanoids from the Deep.
See,
which hit the same. Which it wasn't the same kind of thing with the abortion topic, but the idea of pregnancy and these mutant things coming out of the ocean and raping people and utilizing sex in a horrific way to make people very, very uncomfortable. But yeah, he's utilized it to better effect in other films that he's done. So yeah, he was working within his wheelhouse, and I can see it was a fairly easy film to tell for, or a fairly easy movie to make for him. It's just I think his entry was kind of like, we're gonna get the Corman style version of what this is, whether it's kind of mockbuster or not, or it's kind of a parody of Alien. I'll forgive Corman for that because that's Corman's style. He'll be like, they hit it really well over there. Let's tell it in our style. Kind of like Kaufman. Kaufman's got his style of the parody and the satire of both the industry and the genres that he is going after. So you can tell it in the Kaufman style, or you can tell it in the style of someone, I guess, who has better funding in that respect. But he gets to do it. But Corman gets to do it his way. And that's why I appreciate it.
He had to do it, but here again, Kaufman does it when Kaufman makes fun of something, or satirizes, or whatever. His commentary, it's the execution. I think is just much better. And I'm not saying that Corman is bad. I just think in this movie it was lazy. I think Corman can do it better, has done it better, and should have done it better.
Yeah, see, that's where I agree that it could have been a lot better.
It should have been a lot better.
Eugene, so Cav says, Eugene, I know you love you. I love you. But what you said is exactly what Corman did.
So it's just I agree with John on this one that it was lazy, and Corman has done much better stuff, much better stuff, and he could have, if he wanted to spoof Aliens, he could have gone a different direction to get it spoofed, because I didn't pick up a spoof feel.
He could have hired Rick Moranis and fucking.
Oh, well, for anybody interested, I mean, the film did get a sequel. It got a sequel in 1991, Terror Within 2, and it was not the terroring, but the gargoyling. But it did get a sequel that followed. Had sequelitis as well. Bigger action, more blood, more guts, more like this, and it kind of dropped the pretense of the original film because it just dived hard into the action sequences. And Stevens followed along because the Terror Within marked like the first film of a long collaboration between Corman and Stevens with Andrew Stevens. They worked many times together after this one, so it was the opening of it opened doors, and we got some decent movies out of it as well. So
yeah, or something like that. Yep, the turd polisher is in full swing right now. Anyway, as we're done polishing,
we're gonna fire it up.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, Rodin last name says, well, it was no Carnosaur. Damn straight.
Yeah, that's a pretty low bar. Okay, the bar is way.
Although I have to admit, T-Rex versus the the cat loader, the the forklift looking thing.
Yeah,
I know it's an alien trip. It's like Jurassic Park meets Aliens. It's like, come on, dude, that was a pretty badass fight. And then it like rips its fucking guts out, and it's like shit. Oh, shit was great.
Yeah, right.
Corman's got his style. I love him.
He does. He has his style, and I think he's, like I said. I've said what I've said. People disagree, and that's fine. You can disagree. It's okay. You can be wrong. It's fine. So now that we're done polishing that turd, I do want to ask the audience, which do you prefer, the first or the second movie? Let us know at weekinhorror@gmail.com or in the comment section down below or the side chat.
All right, so
exactly, they both suck.
Shut up. All right, so Eugene, you know what time it is?
It's trivia time.
We get way too big of a kick out of that. We really do.
I feel like it was a mistake getting you that.
So could that be an unpopular opinion? And Denova28 says no comment. So, all right, but it is trivia time. So, get those Google fingers ready. It is trivia time.
All
the
right.
person in the live, huh?
I've got the live chat pulled up.
Yes. And hey, HS4E, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for hanging out. And then I saw somebody else new. Paracord Princess, good to see you.
Princess.
Oh, all of a sudden the audience numbers are going up now that we're at trivia time. We see what people want.
We know what you want from us. Is that all we are to you?
So, the first person in the live chat to get the correct answer to this trivia question will win a mystery prize from Week in Horror. I looked into like confetti cannons. So we need to be using OBS.
Yeah.
To do that. To do like
to get to that level. Okay.
That level maybe I could figure it out. Maybe I could do like an overlay with a GIF. I'm not 100% sure, but I can look into it. But I tell you, putting up the movies in the overlay, that like took time to handle that. But I was able to do it. I was able to get it so that we could put the movies in as requested. It was and the George said requested we put the posters in so that people could see what movie we were talking about in case they came in later.
Yeah, I mean that's smart. It's a good idea.
Raven Dark said, I heard that thing clear in the kitchen.
Paracord Princess, no, you're absolutely correct. It was a man who got pregnant in Alien.
Yes. Oh, and CPM is here as well. Good to see you, CPM. Okay, here we go. Get those Google fingers ready. If you're the first person to get this trivia question correct in the live chat, then you will get a mystery prize from the Week in Horror store. All right, Eugene, let him have it.
The trivia question is, the legendary George Kennedy also starred in what horror anthology sequel? So, the legendary George Kennedy also starred in what horror anthology sequel? The first person who comments in the chat below wins the prize.
Should be pretty easy, seeing as how there are not very many anthology. Yep, Travis Brown. There he is.
Boom, already got it.
Of course he did.
Doesn't even surprise me at all whatsoever.
Travis Brown. Then Sir Little Wolf was right behind. It's an easier one.
Yeah,
because there are not very many sequels to the two anthologies, special horror anthologies. So there you go.
Yeah, well, I unfortunately couldn't come up with anything with these four films that wasn't just like it was like the least obvious thing because it's not like we talk about George Kennedy all the time.
The Terror Within took most of its influences from what film?
We gave the answer away. Yes, we did. Well, congratulations, Travis Brown, one of our big trivia winners. He's the guy who comes into the trivia to the After Dark trivia set and really gives us a run for our money. So congratulations, Travis Brown. We're going to get you, huh?
What?
We're going to get you we're going to print up something from the Week in Horror store. And Leanne Rich says, I got it right this week. Finally, I'm right for once. Congratulations.
Yes, that's right. Creep Show 2.
Creep Show 2 was the answer.
Yes.
Okay, so congratulations. We'll get that printed out for you and get that shipped out to you as soon as we can. Way to go, Travis Brown. Good job. And that is going to bring in...
Try that again. What the fuck happened there? You had a whole fucking garden of frogs in that throat.
Ahem. 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 And that will bring another episode of Week in Horror to a close. Thank you so much for joining us, and we truly hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week when we look back at the star-studded horror A Stranger is Watching, the found-footage techno-horror of Ratter, the epic Nick Cage Renaissance entry Color Out of Space, and Terror in the Diocese in The Right. We got a bunch of big names next week.
Yeah, we do.
Rip Torn, Kate Mulgrew, Nick Cage, Anthony Hopkins.
Yep.
Fucking A. For more horror fun, be sure to follow us on all the socials for the Daily Splatter, your daily horror film recommendation. Remember, we're constantly being stalked by that cruelest of faceless slashers, algorithm, and you can help us defeat it by dropping a comment, liking, subscribing, and smashing that notification bell like a true third act final girl. Joshua Olsen does all of our amazing artwork here at Week in Horror, and his designs are absolutely incredible. Hit his store up for all of his latest creations at www.badsamurai.store. A massive shout out to all of our amazing patrons who continue to help us make Week in Horror the incredible success that it has become. You can see your names down on the banner. Thank you so very, very much. And if you would like and are able to support our little production, you can too by joining and enjoying the tasty benefits of one of our many Patreon tiers as low as $1 a month. But if Patreon is not your favorite stalking method, you can always support us directly through our PayPal link. All of these links, including to our Discord community where you can hang out with us, watch movies, check out the trailers for the upcoming movies, are down in the description below. And remember, the goal here at Week in Horror is global horror domination, and we cannot do it without you, our amazing audience. So pretty please, with the hopes and dreams of indie horror lovers everywhere on top, go and share the absolute fuck out of our little show. Thank you all so much for being the greatest audience a horror podcast could have. I am JL.
I'm some fat guy.
And I'm Eugene.
The sexy one.
The sexy one. He's the, and he is the sexy one. You know, we've actually put up more. There's some names like Bloody Disgusting and Rue Morgenfang. We've actually put up more episodes than some of the bigger names out there.
That's because we don't have lives.
That's true.
Yeah.
We'll see you all next week, and as always, stay scared.